I am kind of excited about this topic that I'm going to talk about. And it's all based in attachment theory that I know a lot of us are aware of. But I want to bring it kind of to the 20th century when we look at attachment theory and the amount of time that parents spend staring at their phones, either playing games or scrolling through social media, or parents playing video games. So in coming videos, I'll talk about where attachment theory came from. And it first started with World War II, which is an event that occurred. So man-made, right? But one that a lot of people didn't have a say in because it was war. That's decided by people higher up or people who don't want to do nice things. And so because of that, it led to attachment issues in children. And then you have a subsequent researcher who decided to look into attachment of our children and when we leave the room, basically. And she came up with 4 different attachment theories, one of them being a secure and the other 3 being the issues that kids have. And that's interesting as well when it comes to understanding our children and really the basic of what our kids need, because we often think that, I need to provide for them financially and give them a home to live in, right? Some food. And that is the basic need. And if you were to divorce and go to court, your child actually has rights to both parents, they'll tell you, financially and time-wise. That is a basic need for your kids. However, there's one more need that I think we can't maybe put, I want to say data, but you can put data because we've done research on it, but I don't think we can enforce it, right? But you can kind of force neglect. It's kind of hard to prove at times, but you can enforce that. But we don't enforce the basics of, I think all basics is you just need to give your kid a safe space. One where they think they can talk to you, where they know you're there, where they feel secure, where they feel loved. And sometimes it's really easy to mess up. It blows my mind sometimes how easy that is to mess up, but it is so easy. And unfortunately, so many people do this. But when we think about attachment theory, and we think about the time parents spend staring at their phones on social media or playing video games on their phones or even playing video games on their computers or their Xboxes or PlayStations, right? Are we giving our children attachment issues this way? So if we have kids playing on the ground next to us, and I'm not saying, first of all, that you have to play with your kid 6 hours out of the day, right? That's not really it. But when your kids come up to us and want attention, that is the time to stop, even if you think you can't stop, because their needs are so important for their future and our future and the country's future. But if a kid is playing and they look at you and you are not looking at them, or they call out your name and you're not looking at them and they have to say it over and over again, this can give our kids attachment issues because they don't feel like you care about them at that point. And so they'll do something. I think the basic thing or the easiest thing they'll do is they just come up and put a hand on your leg and just be like, hey, like, pay attention to me, right? And then maybe they'll do something else. Some kids might throw something or they might yell. And then 1, are we still going to ignore them? Or 2, are we now going to give them a negative consequence? So they were looking for love, for validation, for secure attachment, something extremely simple and small. And now you're going to give them negative attention because of it, because you do not want to be disturbed. That isn't what kids need, and that's not what they want, and that's really not what anybody needs or wants. But how does that play into attachment theory? Are we giving our kids attachment issues because we would rather be checked out of reality and doing something else? I just find that just so interesting that we could take this theory that came from an actual event that was out of the hands of the mass majority of society, and then we can now put it in front of something that is in the hands of the mass majority of society, and we can create these issues on our own. And there are other ways to create it. I mean, unfortunately, some ladies, after they give birth, go into a deep postpartum depression, and we're not paying attention to the babies like we should. And hopefully we get help for that, right? Or you have a mental disorder and you're not taking care of it. Or you're just laying in bed and you're not able to move forward in life, and you're not able to interact with your children. These can also create attachment issues in your kids, which again, if we create attachment issues in our children when they're young, they're gonna have issues when they're older. If we give them a secure place to work through their issues, and even if they have a little bit of attachment issues, because we're not perfect, they'll hopefully be able to work through that when they get older. Now, I know, when I was growing up, Atari had come out, right? And so parents didn't have a gaming system. Like, my parents didn't have a gaming system, but Atari was there, but it wasn't fantastic. You had a joystick and you had a few games, and that was about it. And it wasn't until I was in my teens that, the computers became more accessible. And of course, cell phones didn't come out until I was early adulthood. And so we didn't really have these devices to kind of do new research and see what happens, and except for the last, I think, 2 decades. And so now we get to really decide, and we get to see, and then maybe we get to make some changes as parents. But I am wondering what you all think about attachment issues and the time that you as a parent spend or have seen people spend on their phones or video games. What are your thoughts? Put a comment below. I'd love to hear them.